would have thunk it? We got spring football. That doesn't suck. Let me tell you all the reasons I really like the XFL. Welcome to Jets Talk. My name's Ryan. I'll be your pilot today. If you're new here, hit that subscribe button. If you've been here before, welcome back. I love having you here. I guess I could have said, welcome to Guardians Talk. But I'm not really going to go into the depth of the New York Guardians, but more so just talk about the XFL and my reactions to the first weekend of the first four games. Really, really cool idea. If you guys don't know, if you guys haven't watched, they have games on Saturdays and Sundays. This past weekend, 2 on Saturday, 2 on Sunday. So really easy to watch. They have 8 teams in their league. They have 2 conferences, the West and the East. The West is made up of the Dallas Renegades, the Houston Roughnecks, the Los Angeles Wildcats, and the Seattle Dragons. The East Conference is made up of the DC Defenders, St. Louis Battlehawks, Tampa Bay Vipers, and New York Guardians. So 8 teams for their season. It's going to last till, I think it's April 26th. It's right at draft weekend is their championship game. And this is just an awesome idea for a league. I liked the XFL, when I was a kid, when I watched it for, a few weeks back in, I want to say it was 2000 or 2001. And they had some cool gimmicks and things like that, but it didn't really make a lot of sense. It felt like more of a WWE football as opposed to actual football with, legitimate rules. There was a little too many changes, I think, in the original XFL. But there are a ton of great moves that have happened for the new revival with this league. If you guys don't know, Vince McMahon, the owner of, I think it was at WWE, is the owner of the XFL. And the commissioner for the league is Andrew Luck's father. Blanking on his name off the top of my head right now, but very cool. You have some established people in places of power. They have tons of talent from, players that have been on the roster within the last 2 years, active players. I think the quarterback for the Jets played like 7 games for the Raiders. So he's, there's NFL caliber talent there, but these are guys that just haven't had the opportunity to show it off. With the way the collective bargaining agreement was set up back in 2010, 11, it restricted practice time so much. So really, if you're a backup quarterback or a backup player in general, it limits the amount of reps that a coach is allowed to have their players run. And if you're on the scout team or if you're a developmental offensive lineman or something like that, you're not getting the reps that you need or even the game time that you need to actually progress your skill set. So a developmental league is absolutely huge. And there's no mistake in this. They knew this is what they were going to go for because they're allowing people to come in right out of high school. If you want, look, they recommend and they think the best players are NFL players. They're not necessarily going to scout high school talent, but it's going to be an option for college athletes if they decide they don't want to go the traditional route of college. So aside from being able to play in this league instead of going to college, it also sort of sets itself up as the developmental league just before the draft. So if you are playing in this league, scouts are going to be watching you. The Jets had Phil Savage, the guy that used to, head the Reese's Senior Bowl, scouting the NFL Guardian or the New York Guardians game this past weekend. So really a good idea, and NFL scouts are going to pay attention to this league because they want to see more players and higher quality across the league. If you can have better offensive linemen, especially linemen that take a while to develop, if you can have better offensive linemen coming into the NFL, so your quarterbacks play better, your running backs play better, your wide receivers have more time to get open, that would significantly improve the NFL. And something that this league has going for it that the AAF last year did not have going for it, it's way more accessible. I think the games last year were on like Spike TV and like some sort of like obscure channels. This year they're on ABC and Fox and ESPN and all these big main stations. And I will say the ABC broadcast was a little weird for the Defenders game. It felt a little almost like the B team was running it. The Fox stream, or not the Fox stream, the Fox video for the afternoon game on Saturday and the Guardians game on Sunday, both really well done. I think they did a better job kind of putting the product forward, but a lot of really cool ideas. And I think there's some awesome stuff, especially with special teams, that we could really get into. And even if this league doesn't succeed, long term, which I would love personally to see it, if this league doesn't sustain itself, we were able to get some really cool things out of the original XFL. We got the sky cam that hovers over the field that gets us awesome perspectives all the time. I think that's one type of development that you could see happen in the NFL, like some of these rule changes. Let me talk about the special teams. The special teams, they may have saved special teams for the NFL to adopt this. The biggest issue with special teams that the NFL has dealt with is head injuries and high speed collisions. And rather than figuring out a way to make these plays safer, they decided to just try to phase it out completely by moving up the kick to eventually make every kick go out of bounds. So rather than eliminate it, the XFL is like, well, let's try to figure this out. They have the kicker start where you would normally start on, the 30-yard line, and then the receiver is back right around the goal line. And now you get a penalty if you kick it into the end zone or in front of, I think it's like the 35-yard line or something like that. So there's like a threshold that you have to get it in between. And the rest of the offensive and defensive special teams units are lined up 5 yards apart from each other, sort of in the middle of those two entities, and neither one of those lines is allowed to move until a returner catches the ball, which means the collision that is happening with those blocks is only happening at 5 yards as opposed to 35 yards going at high speed. So this is absolutely a huge, huge, huge piece to the special teams puzzle in the NFL that could absolutely be saved. They were the most exciting plays, and we almost got to see the first return ever in the Guardians game. So I just want to say, our New York Guardians, I'm a fan. I'm definitely going to go to some of these games. It's fun to watch. The 25-second play clock dramatically increases the amount of football you're able to listen to. They had mics on the players that got injured, so if there was some insight that they could share, they would show that. It's not like you had like Alex Smith tearing his leg apart, having him scream bloody murder. But no, you actually heard like, oh, it's my ankle. Yeah, I'm probably not good for this game, but I'm probably good moving forward. There's some really cool aspects of this that I think need to be considered for what the NFL does, and it really humanizes the players. And the best thing, one of the reasons I really like YouTube is because when I watch ESPN and I watch some of like the major networks, they feel very robotic and scripted. When you watch someone on YouTube, you can kind of get a good feel for their personality based on the amount of content and videos that they've watched in the past. And I feel like getting to know these players, especially since no one really knows them. I mean, you'll see some names that pop out a little bit, but for the most part, there's no history to these teams. This is the hardest part about developing a league, is there's no history. It's not like, hey, I became a Jets fan when I was basically born in '89, but they had 50 years of history before that or whatever. That's the toughest part that I think they're going to have to overcome. It was pretty funny. They did a sky ref. The refs they used were refs from college, and they did such a better job than the NFL refs, or at least it felt like they did. They have a sky ref who's in the box making sure like all these plays and penalties are getting reviewed, and he's actually using an Xbox controller. This is like he's playing Madden in real life. This is pretty cool. I liked it. Players like Cardale Jones, I'm probably pronouncing his name wrong, but players like him who had never really had the opportunity to start in some really meaningful NFL games got to shine and really put on a little bit of a show for these NFL scouts. And there's just so much more that this opportunity, or there's so much more that this league can offer. Their extra point system is fantastic. Now, I didn't see anyone go for 2 or 3 points. If you don't know, you get a 1-point conversion from the 2-yard line, 2-point conversion from the 5-yard line, and 3-point conversion from the 10-yard line. So they got rid of the field goal extra point in place of this. Now, this is supposed to make it so teams can come back. If you're down 2 touchdowns, late in the game, well, you could score potentially 9 points per touchdown now and get yourself back in the game. You're never really out of it. And that's awesome. That's really cool. And even the playoff, or I'm sorry, not the playoff, the overtime rules are really cool. We didn't get to see that this weekend, but basically the way this works is it's similar to college in that each team gets the ball, but then it also has a soccer type feel with the penalty kicks where you get 5 opportunities to score. I think it's a 2-point conversion, and the amount of times that you miss, it'll go out of like a best of 5 series. So each team kind of goes back and forth. So after 5 times, if you have 3, they have 2, you win the game overall. After 5 attempts, it goes to like a sudden death. So it'll go 1 for 1. So, the Guardians get an opportunity, they score, the other team doesn't, Guardians win. If Guardians don't score, the other team doesn't score, then it resets and it goes to the next one. And you kind of in that fashion. It's really cool. I really, really enjoy it. Now, the tickets are relatively cheap. I think I saw them advertised for as low as $30. I mean, you still got to pay for parking and things like that, but I really want to see this work out. I thoroughly enjoy watching the scouting and draft and college aspect of like the NFL. And this is just an extra layer of that, an extra spot where we can get talent from. And I think it, allows a lot of players to maybe not go to college and make some money off this league. Like, it may not be a ton of money, but at least if you're a fringe player that may not get a ton of starting time on your college team, or maybe college just isn't for you. Like maybe you're not going to make the NFL, or the chances of you making the NFL are pretty slim, and the college education may not just be your cup of tea. It just may not be what you want to do, because there's so many guys that play. I mean, look, Matt Leinart took ballroom dancing his final year of USC. They push these guys through programs. Not that I'm not saying Matt Leinart isn't smart, but there's definitely a large group of players that gets passed through college just to be allowed to play on the football team. So if you don't want to waste your time necessarily in classes and deal with all that, you could potentially make money. Now, I know college players are eventually going to start making money off their name and likeness, but I think there is a good aspect to this league that offers another route. Maybe not better. I think there's something to be said about the college atmosphere and everything that comes with that too. But guys, let me know what you think of everything down below. Are you guys Guardian fans, or are you guys just don't even care? Do you want this to just remain solely a Jets channel, or should I cover some of this stuff that's going on in the other league? Let me know down below in the comments. And as always, go Jets.